Welcome to the Starting Over podcast. I am your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is the show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Wow, it is snowing outside, and I wasn't really expecting that for end of March here in Kansas City. Hopefully, it's really snowing hard in Topeka because I want a snow day off of work and get paid. Yeah. All right. With all that being said, currently as I am recording, Clixathon is going down, going down, going down on the East Coast. And normally I would have, been a good journalist and, interviewed, I think Alex Avila's going and George after their day one. But I don't got none of that good stuff here. So, maybe next week we might get something, maybe. All right. So you might say to yourself now, like, Dark Logos, what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about two things. The first thing that we're going to talk about is the utility belt and the Infinity Gauntlet as it stands now. And then the second half, we're going to go into I don't want to use the Infinity Gauntlet or the utility belt. What are my options? So it is a resource dial special object day. So if you're not into that, check you next time. But I really do think there is a lot to be said here. So let's get into resource dials. All right. As they stand now, I feel that resource dials are there for us to exploit them. They're not really trying to give us any sort of balanced gameplay whatsoever. We have so many gimmicks and workarounds and shenanigans, as I like to call them, inside of the whole game now. In which, if you want to say it like, hey, I can use the Infinity Gauntlet and find a way to act every turn. So every turn I'm rolling a dice, which in compared to a normal person, I'm gaining 1.5 to 2.5, more clicks than they are, just for the pure fact that I'm rolling more. Okay. Then you add in the fact that there's Nightwing. Hey, my leadership works on anybody, including anyone that's higher points than me. You add on, hey, I'm Colossal. I can act every turn, or I'm Masters of Evil, and I have a medic. There's so much stuff with the Infinity Gauntlet. You just have to say, yeah, by turn 5, turn 6, I should be on power 1 or 2. 3 is sort of pushing it, but definitely by turn 6. If you have a really exploitative team by turn 1 or 2, I mean, sorry, not turn 1 or 2, turn turn 6, you should be on 1 or 2. Okay, so you have that. Then you have the complete opposite end, in which you have the utility belt, in which you're trying to say, hey man, I can start off with +2 stats. If I have to attack every other turn to make sure I maintain these +2 stats, if I have to get inside of a vehicle to maintain these +2 stats, homie, I'm going to maintain these +2 stats. You're going to have to kill all of my fodder, or all of my gimmick stuff, or all of my assisting stuff to make sure that I don't have these +2 stats. Okay, so it's in a way a weird form of mastermind. I kid you not, if you really think about it. If you pop in and outside of the bat cycle so you can maintain +2 stats, and a person has to kill the bat cycle before they kill you, isn't that no different than mastermind fodder? Really? So where we're at is we're at an interesting point in our thinking and transformational process, because we can say, look, we can be hyper aggro, okay, or we can stall. And utility belt gives us hyper aggro with the downside of attacking every other turn if we're doing various shenanigans. Now, note there is some Catwoman shenanigans that you can also do, but it primarily requires a taxi of some sort so that you're able to act in perpetual turns, but you'll never get the defensive value of the belt. But if you're popping in and out of the vehicle, you are never getting the defensive value of a belt anyway. So it's pure offense, okay? Uh, and then you have, hey, guess what? Infinity Gauntlet, let me stall out until I hit Godhood. Now let's rewind back and think about when it was just the Infinity Gauntlet, how much slower games went because everybody was like, come on, please, dear God in heaven, let me get that Godhood. And that's why we end up seeing, all these high point figures that were able to survive. 9 clicks, 8 to 9 clicks of life is what you were shooting for. And so that you could make sure you can get Godhood. Now we're on this point of like, shoot, he's 35 points and 11 attack and 3 damage. I'll put the utility belt on him and he'll be a super nuker. And if he dies, so what? I got a good charge flurry out of him. So it's a completely different world now that the utility belt is in. So how do we sort of deal with the reality that you have a slower pace game going on with the Infinity Gauntlet, and then you have this hyper pace game with utility belt? Well, first off, I would say is if you're going to be using the utility belt, you better be going in hardcore. Now, note, there is some support belt tech. If you check out the blog like last month, I was pondering about support utility belt. And actually a couple of podcasts ago, I actually was pondering about support utility belt. So go back about maybe 3 to 4 podcasts, you might find it. But the big problem with that support utility belt for most people right now is it's just we're not creative enough to use it. It requires thinking that the average clicks player just isn't up for. They see that simple, I got flurry and +2 stats, I'm baller, and that's it. There's not that Old Spice moment where they really take the look at the utility belt. It's like, look at me. Now look at this utility belt. Now look back at me. Now, what I am about to do to you with this utility belt will blow your mind. What is this in my hand? Yes, those are 5 tokens, because you will have to place those on the amount of characters after I finish using this utility belt. Okay, no one has that Old Spice moment. It's mainly, hey, Kermit the Frog here, reporting on what's blatantly obvious. So, okay, that's enough voice work for right now. So the utility belt, there are a few things in which I could say like, oh wow, this could be interesting. Like a piece of tech that I'm working on right now that involves using carry-on, a one item utility belt, and Man-Thing. Okay, how it works is that you double power action to outwit. You're going to take a click. You're going to be on your poison thing. And Man-Thing carries you around. You outwit using the utility belt and poison. It's real simple. Just real simple. Now, yeah, if they go kill Carry-On, you're out what? 70-something points? So what? They have to deal with Man-Thing and whatever else you pack. So, is it simple tech? Oh, heck yeah. Will it work in 300 points? Yeah. Is it groundbreaking? No. But it's one of those few examples where I would say there is no reason whatsoever for Carry-On ever to do an action. Ever. Unless I really need to KO someone. And if that's the case, I'm already in a bad position. Or I need to really get ahead. So you're on extreme ends of the pendulum. All right, so with the Infinity Gauntlet, and I know everyone says like barrier, hey, look, barrier. I think barrier is one thing, but the other thing is just purely leadership. which has been overlooked just for the pure fact. Our main mindset of using Infinity Gauntlet, after we got outside of that support gauntlet here, I'm going to TK Magaga to come and make love to your face. Once we got past that, we got bored with support gauntlet. Support gauntlet became tech that crafty people use, but after utility belt, folks are like, screw that. I'm gonna go super offense. And we lost sight of that because for 15 points I could have spend, less than that and get a full utility belt. Okay, so cost wise, we're actually seeing some issues. And then that's why we have seen the reduction in the support Infinity Gauntlet. Does that mean support Infinity Gauntlet tech is bad? No. What it does mean is that you need to have a plan and you need to know what you are doing and how are you going to cope with the utility belt. And I think that's the big decline of why the Infinity Gauntlet has shown up in what I like to call less competitive 300-point games. All right, let me rephrase that. In competitive 300-point games, why he's shown up less and why the utility belt has shown up more and the Infinity Gauntlet has showed up less. So to actually clear up my stumbling. All right, so what does this mean when we get to using that full 40-point Infinity Gauntlet? Well, first off, we get to avoid the fact that the utility belt is negating team abilities, and now we have Power Cosmic without it officially being Power Cosmic. So that's the first great thing. The second great thing that comes out of our utility belt is if we look at the number of powers, just straight powers, that you have access to on the utility belt, on the Infinity Gauntlet, in comparison to the utility belt, is astronomical. And I think that's where we can, if we're being real with ourselves, that's where most of our cost is coming in at. You have access to, steel energy, super senses, probability control, incapacitate, phasing teleport, and a movement increase when you use phasing teleport, TK and mind control. If you have the full Infinity Gauntlet, you have the ability to use all of those powers. So versus utility belt where you have the chance of using one of several powers. What are you going to do? I think I'm going to use the Infinity Gauntlet if I need all those powers. Now, in Golden Age games, Golden Age high point games, oh yeah, Infinity Gauntlet all the way, because of the amount of exploitive nature that you can do with it. But in really in your lower point games, you're going to find, man, I really have to say, like 600 and below, the utility belt is pretty good. Really, in 600 points, utility belt and Infinity Gauntlet start to hit that point where they overlap, where both of them are about even. 700 points, Infinity Gauntlet is getting that edge. 800, 900, Infinity Gauntlet. 1,000 points, Infinity Gauntlet. Because to think about this, Galactus with utility belt, while it can work, mind you, is not the best option. Okay, I mean, and that's what you're starting to deal with in those higher point games. Yes, as much as I have my grand love for Master Mold, so much so, I had to force myself to put him into early retirement so that I'd stop playing him. Master Mold pretty much shows you that once you put that Infinity Gauntlet on a good sized target, and that you are able to use everything on that dial effectively, that then your opponent has a war on their hands, and there's very little that they can do. So uh, when it comes down to it, I would definitely say small point games. Unless your tech is tight, don't look at your Infinity Gauntlet too much. Unless you know for real, like, yeah, I'm doing this. Your 100 to 300 point games, and yes, there are people that still play 100 point games. And I've played a couple recently, and they are hilarious. All of a sudden, figures that you didn't think were awesome are awesome. And, and that goes back to that bell curve uh, episode I did, I think back in the 30s. It's been a while. So taking some steps forward, looking at that comparison real quick, just wrap some stuff up. Is I feel does the Infinity Gauntlet have a place in the meta? Yes. Does it have a place in low point meta? Not as much as it used to. Does it have a place in high point meta? Yes. The utility belt, does it have a place in low point meta? Heck yes. Does it have a place in midpoint meta? Yes. High point meta? Nah. Unless you're tight on points. Like, the only reason is you're tight on points, or your Alpha Strike with your Charge Flurry is going to do 18 damage or something like that. I have no clue. Whatever comes, man, whatever comes. All right, so that's mostly it. And this is from Big Will Holland. He wanted me to definitely talk about the element of where Utility Belt and Infinity Gauntlet is in the meta right now. So big up to him. And I talk to him, now and then about stuff. So this part is thanks to him. The second part is me working with my homie Silent Screen. And so here's how it comes in. We're talking now about I'm not using a resource dial. What does this mean? For everyone who doesn't know, it's lab days because the prize support doesn't matter. Okay? Once you get your Dr. Octopus arms for your collection so that you can geek out and play with Spider-Man back at home, what do you do then? Let's be honest. What do? You just look at them and like, man, I wish that they were meta, but they're not. But this utility belt and this Infinity Gauntlet is. That's lazy man thinking. That's really lazy man thinking. And I've had to, force some thoughts into Silent Scream of, okay, let's make ourselves a better player. Let's move beyond using resource dials. And so we've had some conversations about what does that mean. And so first off, the big thing is we are now opened up in points of what we can spend on accessories. Now, most of you would say to yourself, that's stupid. Why do I want to open myself up on points on accessories? Because there is this weird space between 10 points, actually 11 points and 25 points, in which you're up in the air, in which you have to feel, and in which there's this grand bridge that can happen. And you're like, Dark Logos, you're not making any sense. Okay, follow me. Okay. From 8 points to 10 points, automatically you're going to think utility belt. 40 points, you're automatically going to think Infinity Gauntlet. Okay. What'll happen is, if you already have Power Cosmic, you're sort of just picking out the gems that you want. So you can't think Infinity Gauntlet. So 10 to 25 points, 10 points and lower, you're thinking, 10 points to 8 points, you're thinking Utility Belt. 25 points to 40 points, you're thinking Infinity Gauntlet. Right there in that 11 points to 24 or 25 points is right there, that sweet spot where you can say, you know what? If I get the right combination of special objects together, I might be able to punk somebody. And punk somebody hard because they don't know what the heck is going on. So this is where the conversation starts out. Because I think most times we don't even look at, most of these special objects anymore. And I will say, hey, I am part of that problem. Mainly because WizKids has done a craptastic job of making us really care about objects or special objects, and let alone relics. So let's be real on it. Okay, so let's come back, and we'll break some things down. Why does WizKids feel that we still need relics that we have to roll to get? And if we look at it, it's the pure fact of, with a resource dial, there is inconsistency. There is no guarantee that you can tactically always have what you want. In theory, people, in theory, there's no way for you to guarantee you're going to have what you always want. Therefore, or let me add an addendum into that. Or it's going to take you a long time to get what you want. Therefore, because the risk is higher, or supposed risk is higher, their costs for these resource dials are lower than relics, which the effects are consistent and stagnant, therefore dependable. So to add in a level of risk, we have to make it so that you have to roll to pick them up. Now, where I think they messed up was they said you only can roll for this object once per game. I think if they said, if you want to waste your time rolling for this object until you get it, that's fine. Sit back there and roll those out, roll and roll and roll. You're playing Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom, and you're, making sure that you don't step on the right tile. No, I think it's the Last Crusade. Last Crusade, he's trying to get the Holy Grail. That's it. Temple of Doom, he's getting the idol, isn't it? Anyway, it's been a long time since I seriously watched Indiana Jones. Didn't watch that alien crap. I already knew that was stupid from the beginning. George Lucas stealing our money and pretending it's entertainment. Anyway, going on. Dang it, I got Indiana Jones in my head now. All right, going back to objects. So now WizKids is trying to make us pretend that we're playing, we're in an Indiana Jones movie. And we have this one chance to get this idol before this, grand trap comes. Or if we don't step on the right letter in the tile, we're going to fall to our doom. Okay, so in saying that, there are some relics that are 4, 5, and 6. And that means that you have a little bit more chance of picking them up. And they have, in my opinion, okay effects. The ones that are really good, they're picking up or 5 or 6 or just a pure 6. Okay, so let's start breaking this down. Okay, so just so we can have some basic understanding. All right, the first object that I really want us to look at is the bat signal. And I think the bat signal should be the cornerstone of your thinking when you say, I'm not going to use a resource dial. The main reason is this. For 2 points, it's ridiculously broken. It's broken on so many levels, I don't know what to say. Oh, hey man, do you want an object that makes any figure on your team operate like Cape Crusader, and you don't need to invest in bats? Well, yeah, that sounds good, but I got this utility belt. Slap! Let me talk to you again so that you understand me. Hear me now and understand me later. Do you want a object that will make any figure of your friendly characters operate just like Cape Crusader? Yes, please. Okay, now we're understanding each other. Okay. Really? I mean, like Galactus, Dormammu, freaking Superman, Mole Monster. It doesn't matter. As long as there's somebody on that other end of that field that's right there by the bat signal, you can just, it's summoning the white without it being as lame. And then you just add in the fact that the object can be TK. Now, there is a misprint inside of the, I think the rule book that says that the bat signal is unmovable. That's not right. it's a heavy. So don't let someone say like the rule book says. No, it's a heavy. It's a misprint by the rule book, because you have to go with what's actually on the dial, or in this case on the card. And on the card it says that you're a heavy. Okay, so you can get your enchantress, you can get your mandroid armor, you can get whatever you want. You got a Superman that can use TK. Go ahead and TK that sucker up. That's what it's about. Okay, take it back to the farthest back row on your starting area, and then be like, hey, you got to be 8 squares away. So that means you functionally have to be 6 squares outside the starting area for me to yank you back. And right there is Alfred just saying, Master Wayne, we've been waiting for you. Hold up, wait, you're not Master Wayne. Doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter anymore. So that's the starting point. And I would say, just the way things are now, that since we don't really have any other special objects that are heavies, that we really need to actually like look at this one really closely, because there's a lot to be said with the Batman signal. So that's the first off. Next off is when we're looking at lights, we need to abuse it while we can, people. Really, really, really abuse it while we can. Is the the bucket of water and the kryptonites. Now you might be saying like, man, really, bucket of water? Come on, man. You could have thought of something better than that. Really? No. Like, bucket of water is pretty awesome. And what's really interesting about bucket of water is that we can use like a bunch of aquatic effects, and we can just TK it underneath whoever needs that aquatic effects. Do you have a amphibian that needs to hit a 20 defense and they have that crappy 10 attack? TK a bucket of water underneath them. They have a 12 against a 20, so they need an 8. So now it's a little bit more reasonable. Do you have someone that regens in water? I mean, like there's a whole bunch of different effects that you can build your team around. Now, note, mostly you're going to be using a whole bunch of dolphin symbol figures, which is fine. There's no rule against that. But there are some cool abilities that you can start to think about when you manipulate bucket of water. So that's the big one. The next object in that light list that I really want us to really go back to, because I think everybody like just forgot about it, is Gold K. Characters within 4 squares can't use Exploit Weakness, Psychic Blast, Pulse Wave, or Telekinesis. A character holding this object can't use any powers except Super Strength. I mean, there's a bunch of cheap little characters with Super Strength where you don't care if they live or die, that you can put on your team, and you can have them suckers run around and just really ruin the day of your opponent. Okay, it's like, guess what, man? Your Professor X can't use Psychic Blast now, son, because I'm right here with this Gold K. I'm gonna shoot you from range if I got it, but so what if I die? You can't use Psychic Blast, and my team's going to be here in 2 turns. Okay, and then you kill that figure, then they have to go and destroy that Gold K. So that's what, 3 actions that's been eaten because of Gold K. Now, I really want you to think of it like this. If my opponent has to waste 3 actions to get rid of an effect that I've invested maybe a total of 40 points in, isn't that worth considering? Heck yeah. Low points, high points, mid points, don't matter points. That's something worth considering. Okay? And yeah, I mean, and this is in the case of the new shiny. We always forget about Lex Luthor can bring in kryptonites. Okay? So if you're not using a resource dial, you might really want to consider, say, hey, Lex Luthor, some cheap guys with super string, pop in, that kryptonite and really ruin someone's day. The next one I think we have to look at is Red K. Red K with Leech is abusive. I just want to say that one for the record. But Red K, characters within 4 squares must roll a 4 immediately before they are given a non-free action. On a roll of a 1 or 2, the character is given a power action to do nothing instead, but can use Perplex until your next turn if they can't already. Now, there is a lockdown combo here of Leech, Red K, and the null field. Okay, and so you might say to yourself, well, Dark Logos, how do I monopolize and use this effect to its fullest? Well, there's this wonderful figure called Nightcrawler, and there's this other figure called Despero, and then there's this last figure called Redshift. Pick whoever you want. Drop them suckers in that null field. Put that Red K nearby. Have Leech just sitting there, just smiling his head off. Okay, anybody that comes into this area is just going to be like, crap. I can't do anything. Okay, so that's something to actually think about. Is you're in a tough position that you're able to lock somebody down. Now let's imagine something else. What happens when we add an end cap into this scenario? I just sent chills down your spine, didn't I? Imagine end cap, and now they're doing all this stuff trying to get out this no zone, and we just keep them in there. So does that mean that we have to have the most hyper aggressive attacker ever? Psst, nah. All it means is that we've really, really, really made their game really horrible. Our opponents, that is. Okay? Well, we're just sitting there laughing. Now, no. You have to figure out how you're going to win with that setup. But still, think about it. How fun would that be just to piss them off that bad using that ability? Anyway, another interesting item, which I'm surprised that no one's really thought about too much recently, is Jewel Kryptonite. Characters within the 4 squares can use Mind Control and Smoke Cloud if they can't already. Characters using Mind Control in this way can only target characters of a lower point value. All characters within 4 squares using Mind Control and Smoke Cloud have a minimum range value of 6 when using those powers. Now let's really take this in now. I am now able to use Mind Control. My Mind Control range is a 6, which your default is 4. If you have no range, so you get +2 on your Mind Control range. So what if they have to, if they have to be lower points? I don't care. Let's go look at what's really good. Smoke Cloud. You're like, what the heck, Smoke Cloud? Yes, Smoke Cloud. For 5 points, I can have a character or characters within this range just use Smoke Cloud. Okay, is it for free? No. But do I have something that I want perpetually stealth? Or do I want somebody perpetually, slowed down so it's going to be really hard for them to get to me? And I have 2 characters that I can waste the actions to do so? Jewel Kryptonite, 5 points. Right there. I mean, come on. You gotta think. Got to think, people. Next up, is a nice object that I really, really, really don't see why people aren't packing. I really don't see why people are not packing this. Definitely within this whole, look at me, I'm stealth, haha, era that we're in. White Kryptonite. Other squares within 4 squares become clear terrain instead of hindering terrain. This has no effects on objects or water terrain. Okay, I can blow up an object unless it's immobile. Water terrain, I don't care because I can see most stealth figures. Okay, unless they have aqua stealth, which is that's a good for you stealth. In all honesty, when people have like aqua stealth, it's like good for you, buddy. Otherwise, your character would completely suck. You deserve it. Okay, but white kryptonite is by far in a Batman era the first thing that we should have been looking at. And it's my fault, I would say, for not even going back and considering white kryptonite and how I can just run around, pick it up, and just like, nah, Batman, I see you. You know, it's texting everyone without having to text everyone. Yeah, it is. You're gonna be like, I didn't think of it like that. But yeah, I mean, it is. It's texting everyone Spider Girl without texting everyone. I mean, you comes in a lot cheaper. You can put in any other sort of character that has super strength and use it and be like, yeah, you over there, I see you. You're visible now. Go shoot him, Hawkeye. There you go. So that's our light objects. I know, like, oh, there's jewel kryptonite. Oh, so I said no, I already said jewel kryptonite. I know gold K. I like me some gold K. White K, red K, green K. Only kryptonite I really think is sort of useless is green K because it is so specific to Superman ally. But oh well. So that sums up our light objects. I think yes, having to go back to kryptonite might be a little disheartening, but let's look at this. Between a kryptonite and that bat signal, at most we spend is 12 points. Okay, 12 points. I have the ability to I have an effect, the ability to recall my teammates, and I have a kryptonite which I can dance and gallivant around the field to shut down an effect that I know is going to hurt my team. Versus a resource dial, which is going to be using certain effects on a fluctuating basis or on a consistent basis, and they're going to be either hiding away from me so they can power up or ducking in and outside of vehicles or utilizing some other stuff so that they can maintain their stat boost. So what are we seeing now? We're probably starting to see some things game design was seeing from the beginning. Inconsistencies versus consistencies. When using all these little special objects together, we are consistent. There's no off. There's no take a break every 5 turns. There's no, on a Tuesday you can do this unless you're calendar man. It's very chop, chop, chop. Little bitty pieces. You get to do this consistently. So that's what we're really trying to exploit. All right, now comes the tough part, where our immobile objects come in. Now, on a side note, yes, there's an ultra heavy object with a tank turret, and yes, you can play that. Do I recommend it? Only if it's really going to fit inside your offense, and you have somebody that can pick it up. But and again, I'm very clear. Make sure it fits inside your offense, and you can pick it up. So let's do the rundown of the objects that'll work real well. Oh, and also a side note, I'm not talking about the lanterns and some of the older special objects, just for the pure fact of you had to be playing Golden Age to use them. The lanterns, I could talk about the lanterns forever. I love the lanterns. Definitely the what's the one with the one that the indigo lantern, the tribe stick, the what else? There's another one. It helps you with your mind control. You're the one with the sapphire, star sapphires. Lantern, it is beautiful. Like when you actually start looking at the impact that one, oh gosh, it's beautiful. Imagine, brother. Now let's think about this now. Imagine Brother Voodoo with Dr. Octopus arms and the Star Sapphire Lantern. Just take a moment. +1 attack with Brother Voodoo. Okay? When he mind controls them, 3 targets. Then the coup de grace is whoever he mind controls gets +1 attack and +1 damage. If you could see my face right now, you will see this smile that is almost inhuman in nature. That you're like, I did not know the human body could stretch a mouth that far. Anyway, so yeah, there's so much old school evilness that we can do. I'd be here all day talking to you. Now, some of y'all would be like, yeah, this is great. But, my voice has limitations, and so does my time, sadly. So let's go back. Let's take some steps back. All right. So we recognize that our Batman signal is 2 points. At most, our kryptonite is 10 points. That's 12. So that means that to fit inside of this magical formula I have, we have about 14, 15 more points for us to spend. So once we start seeing that, it's like, oh, wow, we have about 14, 15 more points. We're in this magical sweet zone. So let's look at some cool stuff in that magical sweet zone, okay? I have Amagato. Agamotto, tomato. I have asparagus. Anyway, joking. It's a good place to start. Mainly with so many mystical teams running around right now. I think that Agamotto is pretty good. First off, when you attack somebody, they can't use shape change or super senses. Pure and simple. That negates some elements on the utility belt and on the Affinity Gauntlet. So, yeah, there's a heads up. There's an advantage right there. Character with Agamotto on its card can use probability control. So you get prob, and you get to ignore shape change and super senses. That's pretty good right there. And if a character with Agamotto on its card has mystical keyword, it can use perplex. Wow, you become Wong without having to invest 30 points and then also do nothing but stand next to Doctor Strange and give him back rubs. So right there, we have a probability control. If we build it right, a perplex. So we have perplex and prob. We get to ignore shape change and super senses. So we can hunt hunt Spider-Mans all day. All right. 12 points, 5 or 6 to pick up, 1 in 3 chance. Tough, but still, if we're running a mystical team, yeah, we got crystals and signals. I mean, how more magical delicious can we get? Okay, so right there, if you're building a mystical team, Agamotto is one of the first things you should be looking at. Dr. Octopus Arms, let's not front. There are a handful of characters in which Dr. Octopus Arms is actually even considered. Okay, just a small handful of characters that Dr. Octopus Arms is considered. Now, some of you are going to come back and it's like, no, that's not true, Dark Logos. I would put Dr. Octopus Arms on a bunch of characters. Yeah, no. Let's not front. What qualifications would we want Dr. Octopus Arms on somebody? You have energy explosion, and you have 1 target. You have an effect that says when you hit this character, it does blah effect, and you want to multiply that, okay? And because they only have 1 target, or their name is Brother Voodoo, and you're just like, because I can't crank up the BS any higher, okay? So yes, there are a limited amount of characters in which you can play Dr. Octopus Arms. But the whole fact is that if they just stopped at 3 targets, I would have been fine. But they added in can use perplex twice on your own turn, but you only can target yourself. That's just icing. No, let's forget that. It's not just plain icing. It's the the buttermilk icing that they talk about on Food Network with cream cheese inside and sprinkles on top of the most lovely cupcake of your flavor. I'll let you pick that much. That's what it is. Okay, for 8 points, we're still operating good. We hit 20 points. We're still good. We're still good. All right. So let's move on. Next up, I would have us really consider. You were thinking Nova Corp's helmet, but not really. I don't like that unless you already start with Flurry. And even then, it's like, yeah. Cosmic Cube. Now, the Cosmic Cube, this one's a 4 through 6, 12 points, but you get Prob and Perplex. But you have a chance to drop the darn cube. And this is where I don't like. Let me be honest, this is where I don't like the relic function. Is because you only get one chance per game to pick it up. They should just get rid of that rule. But okay, Perplex and Prop. Now let's compare, people. Let's really realistically compare. You can use Perplex and Probability Control each time a character uses one of these powers after action resolve. Roll a d6. It can't be re-rolled on a 1 or 2. Place a Cosmic Cube in the square that the character occupies. Look at Agamotto. You get, for the same freaking points, you get the same exact thing, except you get to ignore shape change and you get to ignore super senses. Except, what's the difference? Agamotto, 5 or 6. Cosmic Cube, 4 through 6. 50-50 chance versus 1 in 3 chances. I would go with Agamotto. If you really want to hedge your bet, Cosmic Cube. But really, Agamotto. I mean, yeah, you don't have a mystical person on your team. You're not playing Brother Voodoo. And you have a problem already. Oh, gosh, that's going to be lame in a couple of months. They're going to be somebody. I hate to say it. They're going to complain on him like they did Nat Turner. And they're going to find a way to kill him. They are. Let's not front, people. They're going to find a way within the meta to kill Brother Voodoo. He's just too good. Yeah, and for those who do history, yeah, go look up Nat Turner. You're going to have a very interesting. You'll understand why that comparison works. Anyway. Going on, other objects for us to consider. Soul Gem. But Dark Logos, you said we weren't using the Infinity Gauntlet. That's my point. We don't have to use the Infinity Gauntlet just to use the Soul Gem. That sucker's just good. Steal energy, and then on top of that, when you KO a character, you heal the character. You heal 2. Okay. Soul Gem, I would also say, Time Gem and Reality Gem. Those ones in particular, if you pick up, and you just want them on your team, they're great. Now, I'll take that back. Reality Gem, not so much. Now that we have Agamotto and Cosmic Cube, but definitely, if you feel a little bit shaky on Cosmic Cube, and you don't qualify for Agamotto on your team, then yeah, Reality Gem can do. Now, I will say this. Space Gem and Mind Gem are very circumstantial because you have to look at it like this. You have to go out there, pick up the relic, and then do the effect afterward. And when you're talking about being able to phase and carry and then being able to TK and mind control, then you're most likely going to be using the TK. And by that time, someone's either used the TK to get you out there, or you're already in a weird position. So I don't really recommend Mind Gem or the Space Gem for an option. Next up is one that a lot of people may or may not have forgotten. It's called the Gamma Bomb. And it is absolutely beautiful if you think about it in combination with the bat signal. Haven't we always thought about this? I want to put some pressure on my opponent, so I'm going to play the gamma bomb. But I don't want to go into the range of the gamma bomb because there's the possibility of me being blown up. Well, and there's always that character when you do play it that's in the blast radius of the gamma bomb. And then lo and behold, you're sort of kicking yourself like, I really wish I were able to get that character back. Now you can for a magical 2 points. It's called the bat signal. So you have the bat signal and the gamma bomb working together in harmony to just tick off your opponent. So now you're able to go all up in that blast zone area, not feel scared. You know, heck, you could be sitting on top of the gamma bomb, dancing a little jig with your character. And then it's like, oh, it's going to blow up your next turn. Bat signal, da-da-da-da-da, jazz hands. And then your opponent, you know, wasted all that time thinking that they were going to get that character and didn't happen. And they're caught up in the blast. And then, you know, your game turns into a Michael Bay film. Explosions, Michael Bay, explosions. Okay, so that's the big one to really think about. I don't like global ultimate knowledge. I really don't. It's horrible. Scorpio key, still good. You know, you never thought it would be this long, but it's still good. +2 range and psychic blast. Yeah, it's still good. Imagine Brother Voodoo with the Scorpio key. Oh yeah, I phase up and hit you with psychic blast and mind control you. Yeah, I know. It's just more wrong. So, Crimson Gem and Sidorak, again, something else that does stand the test of time. Being able to, I think you get charged, don't you? 5 or 6 modify. Yeah, you get charged. You get charged +1 damage. You also get super strength and toughness, which for everything that we're talking about really works, because now you're able to have the super strength to pick up your kryptonite, or you can pick up, you know, your bat signal if they get too close to you. You have a whole bunch of options that you can use with Crimson Gem Sidorak. Now, I'm going into the DC special objects, and one thing I will note is that the DC special objects, just in their universe, is a little bit punkish. But they're quirky, and you have to think them out. Now, why am I saying they're a little bit punkish? If you listen to everything I just said, it's like, wow, that's blatantly just support, or that's blatantly damage. This stuff is like, on a Tuesday when the sun is, you know, in the 3rd house and Aquarius is lined up with Solaris type stuff. And it's like, oh, what the, how, I never thought that object would do this. So bear with me, and I'm going to have to spend a little bit more time explaining why this is good. But you have to be in the mindset of understanding why it's good. All right, so first off, we have Mr. Freeze Gun. Character can use Barrier. When it does, it can use Incapacitate as a free action, targeting all opposing characters adjacent to a terrain marker placed by this character. Now, first off, you need to understand why Dark Star deserves the Mr. Freeze Gun, and why you're looking at the screen crazy right now. Okay. Dark Star's from Captain America's set, and she's able to put down Smoke Cloud as a free action. She has an 8 range, I think. Something around there. She doesn't have really good damage, but she puts down Smoke Cloud for free. And she's on that Soviet super squad. I say all that to say this. It says terrain. Hindering terrain markers. Oh my gosh, that sounds like Smoke Cloud. Yes. Do you have a figure that can put down Smoke Cloud for free? Why, yes, I do. Guess what? You used incapacitate. Hold up, wait. It says I can use barrier, period. When it does, it can use incapacitate as a free action. Yes. All opposing characters adjacent, yes, to a terrain character, to a terrain marker placed by this character. Yes. So all I have to do is, for my free action, put down smoke cloud first, and then put down barrier, and then I can incapacitate 15 people? Possibly, yeah. Oh, wow, that's sort of broken. Yes, it is. Do you have a character that can put down barrier for free? John Stewart, I'm looking at you. Yeah. Put up some barrier with Mr. Freeze Gun. Now I have more issues. I have more people I can incapacitate. Yeah. Now, here's the other cool thing with Mr. Freeze Gun. It says you can use barrier. If you already have barrier, just do what you do. Just look at it as Copsicle. Okay, for all those people that remember Copsicle. You know, heck, I mean, this might even stack with Copsicle. All right, but you just have to remember, do you put down terrain? It didn't even say, see, this is where I wonder where WizKids is paying attention, because it didn't even say blocking terrain. It just said terrain. Okay, now, let's add in another effect. Can you generate water terrain? Oh, wow. Can you generate some weird effect and they call it terrain? Well, I think so. Guess what? You benefit from this, okay? You benefit so hard, okay, from this. All right, let's even make this more clear. You see Poison Ivy from No Man's Land? Let me go read something very particular about her power. Control one of her traits. Control over all vegetation. Give Poison Ivy a power action. Choose one of the following. Okay, accelerate growth. Place a plant object in a square of printed terrain. Printed hindering terrain within 5 squares. Sprout a mighty oak. Replace a plant object with blocking terrain marker. Okay. Reclaim the land. Destroy a plant object in a wall square blocking terrain adjacent to the plant object. Entanglements. Poison Ivy can use Incapacitate as a free action, targeting all opposing characters that are adjacent to a plant object. So you're like, okay, Dark Logos, what does this mean? Let's look at Sprout a Mighty Oak. Replace a plant object with a blocking terrain marker. But Dark Logos, what are you saying? I'm saying, point blank, the terrain doesn't have to be put out this turn. If you do something that creates permanent terrain and your opponent keeps going next to it, guess what? With that wonderful Mr. Freeze Gun, you can use Incapacitate. But she gets to use Incapacitate as a free action doing the thing. And yeah, I know, you only get one free action of using that same thing. I understand. But think of it like this. If your goal is to incapacitate as many people as you want, wouldn't the effect of being able to have, let's just say, more permanent terrain so you can stack up terrain a benefit? I would think so. So, wrapping it up, in short, what the Mr. Freeze Gun allows us to do is, for a very, very, very low cost, shift a character that is making terrain for us, helping us out, into a ridiculous support piece. And I know this is a waste, complete waste, but imagine with me for a moment the Bat Cycle with the Mr. Freeze Gun. Could be pretty interesting. All right. Next up, The next item that I really want us to look at is Pseudosaurus. So much mind control in the world these days. Uh, the Pseudosaurus is just keeping the black man down. Is another joke. Yes, he completely shuts down this item. Just shuts down Brother Voodoo from mind controlling your character because you have Battle Fury. But at the same time, if you have a character with no range anyway that you weren't going to pick up anyway, nor carry, nor drive a vehicle, the Pseudosaurus is worth considering. 50-50 chance of picking up, I would definitely go for it. The next one that I think is worth looking at, and I'll say it like this, it's worth thinking about just for the pure fact that a lot of folks don't see it as useful, is the grapple gun. Character can use improved movement, ignores elevated terrain, and the carry ability. Ignores elevated terrain, and what the? Oh yeah, that's the way they have it worded is sort of silly. So you can move over elevated terrain and you can carry a character. Okay, you don't have to, have a limitation on your carry. All right, it's 4 points. You can be grounded in carry. All right, so that is a big deal. Now, how you might say like, hey, Dark Logo's grapnel gun, I'm really not feeling it. Okay. Imagine you can use charge, and the character that you want to get to is on elevated terrain, and there's not a ladder nearby, and your character's grounded. Wow, that does add for some flexibility. Okay. You also could say like, hey, Dark Logos, I still am not feeling it. Okay. Imagine that you have a character and you have a team, full of grounded characters, and you just need a little bit more mobility. Okay. So if you can combine the fact that the character charges and has a good movement and you don't mind it carrying around somebody, then yeah, it can be a really good idea. Now let me pull all of that together. You are playing, let's make it thematic, Nightwing from the Batman set. He goes in, he picks up the grapnel gun because he's Batman. I mean Nightwing. Sorry, I just had to say it. He was Batman in the old universe, and then they rebooted everything. Okay, so then you take that next step and you pick up that grapnel gun. After you pick up the grapnel gun, you have your faithful partner with you, Fast Force's Wonder Woman. You go in. She's right behind you. They're holding hands. He charges flurries while carrying Wonder Woman, lights up the target, and Wonder Woman goes off and charges and hits somebody. Yeah. You can, with the grapnel gun, set up a ground pounder to do the Wonder Woman bomb, the same thing you were doing with Big Barda, for a lot less points, for a whole lot less points. So again, it's not obvious. It's not like blatantly straightforward, these DC objects. That's why I'm sort of walking through them a little bit more, and that's why I said like these is some crazy stuff, man. Some crazy stuff, buddy. The next one I wanted us to look at is, no, I was wrong because I thought the sonic transmitter had something to do with. Oh well, I guess I was just wrong on that. Okay, next up is Batarangs. Characters can use Incapacitate, Sharpshooter, and possesses one additional target. 10 points. Now, you're going to say to yourself, Dr. Octopus Arms, I don't know between this and Dr. Octopus Arms. All right. Here's where I would say Batarangs over Dr. Octopus arms, and why you would need to use why would you use Batarangs instead of Dr. Octopus arms for these circumstances. You're already dealing with a character with 2 targets. Okay, that's one. The other thing is you're dealing with a character with 3 targets. Okay, now unless there's a ruling that the most targets that you can have is 3, then ignore what I just said. But if there's not, then Batarangs will allow you to technically have 4 targets if you already have 3. Okay, the next thing is you have energy explosion. There you go. And you also would, with that requirement, if you have an energy explosion, you must also have Bruce Banner on your team. Anyway, also in this 50-50 chance of picking it up, the pure fact that you're sharpshooter means that you can be base to base to somebody and still use energy explosion. Okay, or incapacitate or any other thing that you want to use. So adding in the sharpshooter mechanic gives you a lot more advantage in target selection than it would previously, but you need to be able to maximize target selection. Is there a character that you say to yourself, man, if they were just able to pick their target a little bit better, then they would be great? Or this character really needs sharpshooter. Then automatically they are Batarangs. Just for pure incapacitate, you don't really want to think about that. But if you also want to say, hey, they need one more target, this is a good way of doing it. It's also cheaper than ambidextrous, because ambidextrous at minimum I think comes in at a 12 points. So, yeah. So, but that's pretty much it. Again, like I said, the modern age DC immobile objects, they need some love. Now you might also say, well, why no White Lantern Dark Logos? Because White Lantern, in all honesty, is sort of suck for what we have now. With all the circumstances and situations that we have now, White Lantern is sort of suck. Hate to say it. All right, so that's pretty much it for the episode today. I know I didn't have a show last week. Just didn't record. Pure and simple. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I just didn't record. Got caught up playing League of Legends. Had too much fun. Had to do some laundry and then had to go back to Kansas City. Didn't have time. So yeah. Hopefully next week I may be able to do something about Clixathon, do a recap. I know by then most of you have already gotten your Clixathon fix and read HC Realms and 15 other sources of whatnot. So what I'll try to do is just say, what's out there that wasn't really covered that much, and then try to, get some info on it. Try to hear from Alex and try to hear from George if I can. All right. Hit me up at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. I usually respond to that a lot more. I got the email address hooked up to my phone. So when you email, I know. So yeah. You also can hit me up at Twitter at startoverpod. Twitter, if you go and you actually follow me on Twitter, you're actually going to know when the show is up, because YouTube sends a link to Twitter, and then Twitter will allow you to see that. Also, you can check out the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. And in all honesty, you're guaranteed to hear more out of me from the blog and analysis and just a little bit more of my ranting in that show, on the blog than in the show. And as some of you have sort of noticed that I don't just go off and rant on what WizKids is doing in the show that much, mainly because I do that in the blog. Definitely the fear itself stuff has put a little bit of fear in me, and the ability of WizKids to not whore out the populace. And now, no, this is not an anti-capitalism, anti-money thing, and I don't want whiz kids to die or anything like that. I just feel a prize support set is doing nothing but setting up the players to spend astronomical amounts of money, either to be taken advantage of by the store owners or to be taken advantage of by the secondary market. Just pure and simple. It doesn't matter if on the side of the box it says not for retail sale for any of the prize support or the prize support boosters. People are going to put it on eBay. There's nothing that WizKids is going to do or can do about it. They can threaten all they want. But if they can't link it back to a store, which, in all honesty, a lot of people that buy prize support are not stores, doesn't stop anything. Oh, I held an event in a bar at 3 in the morning, and it was me and my friends, and we showed up and we filled out the thing. Oh, well. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening. I don't know. Oh, big up to Push the Regen. They've been on for a year. So I think they recorded their show by now. By the time you listen to it, I don't know if it's up or not, but I know they were recording it. They have done a great job in the heroclix community, and they have brought various groups together and gotten interviews that I didn't think they would never. Just anyone outside of AC Realms would have gotten. So, big props to them, and big props to Glass Cabinet for his continual endorsement, or receiving his endorsement from Troll and Toad. Even though I think Troll and Toad is hella expensive and unreasonable at times, but good for him. All right, enough rambling. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.
I'm into comic books, figures on the wall. She's into looking good, Vicky C's got a law. And she loves my flaws, yeah, she's not ashamed. I'm a Peter Parker, she's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane, she's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane, she's my Mary Jane. She's my Mary Jane, she's my Mary Jane. I'm a Peter Parker, she's my Mary Jane. I'm a big nerd around her, but she's cool around me. Never knew how she found me. Electric, but she grounds me. And she loves my flaws, she accepts them all. When the darkness comes, I will get the call. I will swing down to save her.